The saddest day of my life is when she left me with a broken heart. I was feeling the pain, the pain, the pain. All right, that's Wayne Wonder. Never forget that. Shout out to you, Ernesto, person who introduced me to reggae music on a whole different level. So today's story, we're looking at 3 individuals, somewhat what you might want to call a triangle. A woman saw herself as being better than the other woman. These things go on all the time. One woman thinks she's better than the other one, so she tries to put herself on a pedestal and she tries to make the other person suffer for her position. But in this case, one woman didn't know about the other woman until she knew about that other woman. But she only found out about that other woman when she was on the outskirts of the relationship. You see, sometimes a guy might see himself as being slick. But women are usually the slickest ones in the pouch. Let's just be honest. Because a woman will see something and she'll strategize in a way that a man would never even imagine. But the guys, see, men are different. They leave clues for both individuals because they can't really keep up. You see, when you play games with women, you got to be 10 steps ahead of you. You do. And that's the problem. A lot of people don't see their position. Only thing they see is that they think they're slick. So, you have 2 women. One woman, again, thinks she's better than the other woman. Okay? So she decides that she's going to court a guy who she knew another woman was involved with prior to. Now, the other woman doesn't know about the other woman, but she goes on about her business because she sees that there's too many things happening in that relationship. One time she's hanging out with a guy and she sees a picture on his phone. She inquires about it. He says, that's none of your business. So as far as she's concerned, then we're not moving forward. That's how she sees it. So since she sees it as they're not moving forward, she doesn't take it seriously. So if she sees him, she sees him. If she doesn't, she doesn't. That's her whole way of looking at it. The other woman sees that the other woman was interested in him. So she says, okay, maybe it's more to him than not, because the status that this woman is in, there's no way in the world she would choose a low budget, creature. So she says, okay, I'm gonna go for it. She starts seeing certain things, but she ignores it because she thinks he has money. And since she thinks he has money, she wants to do that, she wants to play the game of having more than she had yesterday. And she doesn't budget well, so she feels like if she goes with him, at least she'll have something. And then she has encouragement by family members that say, stick with this guy, I'm telling you, he's the best, and don't worry about that last chick because she was nothing. So she goes ahead and she hangs out with him. Now, this woman is married. That's another thing. She was happily married at one point, but she was getting annoyed with her husband, tired of him. Now, with her being tired of her husband, the thing was the man was actually supportive of her. Even when she would lie and say things like, my sister's doing this. Sometimes she'd play on the phone and act like she's having a conversation with her sister. And she wasn't having a conversation with the sister. That was a game she'd play to have him believe that the sister was jealous of him. You see, a lot of people play games. This is a game that she learned from her father, because her father would do that too. He'd have conversations and you would think that he was on the phone with a person, but he really wasn't. And he'd have people thinking that his son or another person was arguing with him, and it was an empty-ended conversation. You see, a narcissist will play a game like that. But in this case, you're dealing with 2 narcissists, okay? So what happens usually in this case is God balances things out. So when you are equally yoked with a person, you find yourself having the same behaviors as the other person. So you have 2 narcissists butting heads constantly. And basically what it is the guy is usually getting back whatever he served, or the woman, whoever it is, doesn't matter what sex it is. What you give out usually comes back to you. That's the reason why you have to exercise self-love. You have to work on yourself. so that you don't find yourself in a situation that is going to burn you, because you're elevated to be in the same experience with the same type of person. If you work on yourself, you'll have a elevated person. You won't have the same mistakes consistently happening. So as the story goes on, they go ahead and they decide that they're going to act in the community as though they are married. So they're in the community and everyone starts looking at them as, a high profile, relationship. They don't realize that this couple exercises dark arts in the background, She's so worried about getting so many things, picking up handbags, name brand this, name brand that she's neglecting her home. She barely cooks. She doesn't keep a clean house. And they have children, so the children are now suffering. They don't pay any attention to the children. He assumes she's going to pay attention to the kids. And she's saying, no, you could do it too. Both of them are only focused on themselves. And you have a relationship like this where neither party is focusing on the house, the children, the family itself. They don't pray together. In fact, they don't even know what prayer is. This is a problem because God gave you the person in the first place. And it would only be God that would help this relationship to heal. But both individuals are so busy focusing on other things. So now the money's running out and they're trying to figure out how they're going to get their next dollar. So they say, you know what? Let's focus on this. So she goes ahead and she says, why don't you get back with that girl? Because you were getting good energy off of her. And then we can manifest and get something better. We make our money better. So he says, okay. And he starts hanging out with another woman, the same woman, hanging out with her, pulling her energy. And the woman realizes, this other woman realizes that this man is taking from her. Because every time she's around him, her energy is low. The words that he says are really verbally abusive. She says, oh, I don't need this, and she leaves. When she leaves, she starts, realizing different information is coming up in her environment. She's starting to pick up on different things that he's done. She's starting to, because again, energy, when you are around a person's energy, you get to notice certain habits. You get to pick up on certain energy and figure out what's really going on. She actually drives into this neighborhood that she usually doesn't drive down. It's almost like she feels like it's a mistake. Why did I make this turn? Before she finishes making the turn, she sees the guy. And she says, is he following me? So she sits in the car, parks the car, and turns the car off, trying to get herself together. While she's looking through her purse and getting her the address right from her phone, she looks up and the guy is with another guy. The guy is walking him to the car. They get in the car, and she thought she saw them exchange kisses. What? So the other guy leaves the car, goes back to whatever apartment or whatever he lives at, and the guy drives off. Sometimes when you are asking God, you say, God, tell me if this person is right for me. You get an answer instantaneously, So she picks that up. She's like, whoa. Confirmation. She's so glad she never went back to that guy. Now the woman who's with him doesn't know a lot of stuff that's going on. But sooner or later, she's going to pick up that same thing. But then she starts wondering. Time passes and she's wondering, why is it that the other lady is no longer acting like she's interested in this guy? What's the matter? Didn't we hook her in here? Didn't we do dark arts to get her to stay in this relationship with us? Because she's feeding off the energy as well. You see, God will look at the whole situation and make sure that the karma goes to the necessary individuals so that they'll learn and grow. If you stay and you don't learn from the situation, you're going to reap more havoc. And when I say reap more havoc is going to be reaped. So the other woman, she decides that she's going to do a spiritual bath, cleanse herself. She's going to get away from this whole mess. And she starts growing. She starts persevering, moving on and doing everything that she set her sights on doing. The two of them are still suffering, getting caught up in different mayhem, not paying attention to the children, mistreating the dog, all kinds of different things. You see, the guy starts realizing that he has to make more money because she's spending more money than they can actually make at a time. The house is now having issues. They're not able to pay bills. He's wondering, what the heck did I get myself into? You see, when you're in a triangle, you're not only you picking up different energy, but you're taking on more stress with two women at the same time. When the other woman left, he started realizing the differences between the two women. One woman was a giver and she was a supporter. She was one who would have easily invested. The other woman, she's not an investor, she's a taker. A lot of men don't realize what the 80-20 rule is until they're all caught up in the midst of it all. So let this be a lesson. Invest in what you know is right. And it needs to take time. Don't assume that a relationship is this and you haven't even taken any time to get to know the person. You haven't really invested. So if you haven't invested, how do you know what it is that you are actually receiving in the first place? Excuse me for all the noise. I had to make sure that I put it down when it came in. And of course my copycat, excuse me, is going to be taking this in a minute too, because that's what she does. But it's important whenever you're going to invest in any type of relationship that you listen, you look, you watch, you observe in every way, and ask for God's guidance so that you don't find yourself with a gold digger who's taking everything that they could possibly get from you, or with a person who you deemed as a good wife and she was only in it for the money in the first place. You have a good, what does the Bible say? When a man finds a woman, he finds a good thing. When you know it, you know it. So let us not look at things and just be so easily to dismiss what's really going on. It's important that while you're investing, you're observing what that investment entails. People will always be there to take, but you have to really look at and observe who the giver is, okay? That's been my word. It's so lovely being you. Have a wonderful one.